Thank you guys for joining. Welcome. Calendars are always really tight, so appreciate you guys, taking the time and spending the next 30 minutes with me. I'm going to go ahead and get started with a quick introduction. My name is Danielle Gregoire. I'm a solutions consultant at Toolio. Prior to joining Toolio, I spent the last 15 years in merchandise planning, merchandising, and allocation at companies like Macy's, Kate Spade, and Outdoor Voices. My experience was really based in spreadsheets and pulling together different reports and from different systems and stitching them together with formulas and pivot tables and all of that jazz. So I'm excited to be able to walk you through Toolio today. Most of you really sit somewhere in that planning, allocation, or merchandising org at various brands. So want to spend the next 30 minutes to walk you through how Toolio actually works end to end. We will spend majority of our time inside the product, but I am going to start off with 3 quick slides to kind of ground us in some core concepts and then workflows as well. So kicking off, Toolio is a merchandise planning platform built for the way retail teams actually work, not necessarily the way that legacy systems think that they should. So we replace spreadsheets, workarounds, and offline reconciliation files that your teams rely on today with that one connected planning environment that moves as quickly as your business does. So what you'll see today is one plan, that financial assortment and allocation, connected from the top line financial numbers all the way down to the store shelf. So your same data, logic, and no bridge files. Before I show you anything, I wanted to start off with those concepts that shape everything that you're about to see. These are design choices that really make the platform work the way it does. So wanted to start with Smart Start, and Toolio gives your team a seeded plan that's built from your own sales history, your own trend, your own category groupings before a planner has to type in a single number. That means that starting point isn't a guess, it's a defensible first draft that your team can then react to, override, and refine. This doesn't replace planner judgment. This gives that judgment something to work off of on day one of that planning cycle instead of having to build a separate file, get those formulas set up, and then be on day 3 and be like, okay, now what? We will start in merchandise planning. This is where that financial foundation of the plan, your sales, your margin, your receipt targets are all organized across time periods and product hierarchy. And because we connect to your tech stack, we are also connecting to those actuals in real time. Most planning organizations are managing a plan that was set months ago and then quietly kind of drifts from reality. And then that reconciliation effort to close that gap consumes planning capacity that should really be going towards strategy. And so when the merge plan is live and editable at any level and connected to those actuals, planners are able to stop managing spreadsheets and start managing the business. This is a quick snapshot of the workflows that we'll go through today, reviewing that top down, middle out, open to buy, reviewing, working on scenarios and snapshotting, multi-plan reconciliation. So being able to plan within Toolio, but looking at store plans, long range plans, you can plan in brand plans, however is most relevant to your business, and then actually reconcile those back to the merchandise plan, being able to create that single source of truth. And then we'll finish off with Tooli, which is our personalized intelligence natural language chatbot. And then, of course, reports as well, which can even be emailed to you. From merchandise planning, we will go into assortment planning. And the key concept here is that true demand modeling. So there's a difference between what you sold and what you could have sold. And so what this true demand modeling is we look down to the store size level and review when you were actually in stock of products. If you were out of stock, then that week is stripped out, really being able to give you that unconstrained signal compared to your constrained inventory, meaning you're able to plan off of what your customer actually wanted, not what you happen to have on hand. And so assortment planning is that bridge between that financial plan and then the buy, connecting your style, color, and size decisions to those targets that were already set in your merchandise financial plan. That gap between what a team planned to spend and what they actually bought is one of the most common and most expensive disconnects in retail planning. And so that could happen when those assortment decisions and financial plans are living in different tools. When the assortment is built inside the plan, buyers and planners are working from that same number. That alignment really shows up in margin, in inventory productivity, and in fewer end of season surprises. Within assortment planning, the workflows we will go through is that in season tournament forecasting. So, anything that you are needing to react to based on your current season. This is our AI forecasting. So, we'll go through what that workflow looks like. We will then pivot to preseason, reviewing hindsight and rationalization, looking at your historical productivity, but then also linking that to your future sales plans, understanding what that long tail looks like from your historicals, and then what you need to have in order to achieve your future sales plan. And ultimately, the output of assortment planning is purchase orders. So being able to have that strong connection of the buy work that's happening and then being able to connect that to your ERP and have those purchase orders flow through. And then last, we'll go into the allocation module. And the key concept here is that time phased forward looking demand. And so planning to last year is a floor, not a ceiling. Our demand model is looking forward. So incorporating your trends, seasonality, and planned events, ensuring that your receipt plans, allocation recommendations are built against what's likely to happen, not just what already did. And so every future facing number is time phased, meaning that it says we'll sell this much in these weeks, allowing that plan to really turn into a useful operating tool. Allocation is really where we recommend how many units go where and when based on that forecast, presentation minimums, and weeks of supply targets. Allocation is critical to any business. This is where those well-made plans either get executed or get eroded. And so units sitting in the wrong location don't show up as just that line item problem. They end up in markdowns at the end of the season. When our allocation recommendations are traceable, exceptions are surfaced automatically, your allocators can spend that time on decisions that require judgment, not on rebuilding analysis they're not really sure that they believe in. In terms of those workflows, we will review that forward-looking SKU location demand, go into what a workflow would look like for initial allocations and replenishment, take a look at that exception management, and then finish off with a quick review of pre-allocations and then automated transfer orders. All right, jumping into the platform. This is merchandise plan. This is, again, that financial foundation of the plan. And what you can see here is across the top time periods. I have it monthly right now, but you can adjust this to be weekly, quarterly, any sort of relative time frames. And you'll notice I'm in 2026 so far, but you're able to switch between different years. You can even review it by seasons, and all can be configured by you in the settings screen. You can look relative and then custom relative as well. So all of these, you're able to really be able to jump between years, different timeframes, and relevant information as you're planning. You'll notice it has the look and feel of Excel. We like to say it also has the power of the platform. The look and feel of Excel was intentional. It feels really familiar to teams, and we really see this highlighted in our adoption rate. Teams aren't needing to relearn new workflows as they are onboarding the platform. They're able to see what they do, but then see it amplified within the solution. And so you'll see the metrics across the different rows. There's over 250 metrics that are available on day one. And if there is one that you and your team really need and are missing, then all of that can be configured within the settings screen as well. You don't have to open a help desk ticket. You can see I just added Jim Roy at the bottom and reloaded, and it gives that kind of pivot table-like functionality. But you're able to create different views. You can save them for yourself. You can set them as a default for yourself or your whole team and really be able to drive that alignment in how you guys are all wanting to look at the business. In terms of that attribute-based planning, wanted to highlight the ability to, we have up to 10 attributes that we can support within merchandise planning. And what this means is you're not tied into a set hierarchy. You were able to really support your team and how you want to look at the business. You also can adjust these similar to that pivot table like feel. So that way, if you're wanting to shift between channel and division or class, you have that flexibility to create those different views. Even if you don't have a attribute visible, all of those impacts that you're making to the plan are flowing through for all of those metrics and attributes. So just know that there is that confidence that you can adjust at the top line, but it is flowing through. In terms of how you actually would plan in here, there's a couple of ways to start off. So one of them is our forecast function, where you can click on any cell and there's only 3 decisions that stand between an empty plan and then a fully seated one. So first is your seasonality groups, where you can partition down to those different attributes, really highlighting the lowest grain you want that plan to be pulled from. Your sales history, where the system reads your actuals and builds the curve. This is really great if you're in season and chasing a moving target. You could also pull from the merchandise plan, which is a plan that you've already created in terms of that forward-looking picture. So options in terms of how you're wanting to really highlight those. And then volume method, what growth assumptions are we applying? So you're able to the system can read that recent trend automatically. The planner controls the window where you can select between these options, but you also can create your own time frame if that is what you're looking for. From there, you can hit forecast and then the entire year populates. So your sales, your margin, your receipts, all seated against your own data, your own trend window, your own groupings. Nothing on the screen is invented. Everything traces back to something you already own. So the system is able to start the year, but of course the planner finishes it. In terms of how you can actually make those inputs, you can go ahead and type at a top line number and say, I want the total year to be adjusted to this. You can see all of those blue carrots that are making adjustments all the way through my metrics. And again, all of the metrics that I don't have exposed are still flowing through as well. You can change this at a top line. You can also adjust in terms of those layers underneath. So if I wanted to say this is going to be 13 million, you can see that impact as well. And what I would have really loved in my past is to be able to adjust how I'm planning. So you can plan at the build level. There's also the ability to plan from a percent to total or a year over year. There's the ability to lock whether it's time or attribute. Let's say that I really feel like this top line or this women's division is as high as I can really plan it, then I can go ahead and lock this one and then change my top line and it will go ahead and adjust the others. Also still adjusting those classes and the other attributes that I don't have exposed here. So a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can plan without having to hard key different formulas, create different formulas. And, this just means, let's picture your planner have it coming in on a Monday morning. She opens the platform, pulls up her category, and the CFO asks for a sales scenario by the end of the day. So in Legacy World, that's a half day spreadsheet exercise where here she's able to pull a lever and walk into the 11 o'clock with a defensible plan. So far, we've been working in the master, but you're able to create different scenarios like the one I just mentioned and can say, you know, May replan. I can save this as private. I can make a snapshot. So at the beginning of each month, my open to buy can just be sent directly to me. And you don't have to worry about saving a PDF or anything like that. You can also set permissions where that you can ensure that those are the approvals can be merged to the master with approvals. So that way I'm a planner, I can have this be sent to my director. My director can then approve it, say, looks great, merge here, or okay, we need to make some adjustments. And then so far, we have been working in merchandise plan, but we do have these multi plans as well. So there's store plan, wholesale plan. Would love to take you guys to long range plan, which is giving you the ability to plan further out. So let's say I'm in year 2028. What I can do here is make that input at a top line number. You also see the impacts of those other metrics here. And then I can press save. And what is really powerful about that reconciliation is I'm able to take my long range plan, go have this target my merchandise plan, and then what I can do is set for 2028 and really get that future looking view from finance, but have it in my view for merchandise plan, really keeping those relationships, ensuring that that continuity is all coming into place. So that way I have that starting point and can make any adjustments in terms of strategy. And then Tooli. So Tooli is our natural language chatbot. You can ask, how did I perform last week compared to plan and last year by channel? We'll give you a snapshot. You can also ask for it to be in a specific format if you would like. You can, the more you use it, the more it will really understand what you're looking for. So always being able to use this thumbs up or thumbs down. And then able to ask additional questions from here. It's like getting an assistant planner that doesn't sleep. Within each of the modules, there are, of course, reports as well. So there's the kind of Monday morning reports available. There's also a fast turning categories one, which I love. So you can see your division, department, class, weeks of supply. All of this can be configured to however you're wanting, depending on your lead times, et cetera. But you're able to then take a look and see, okay, this is coming in less than 13 weeks of supply. Is that what I wanted to? Is this fine from a downtrending seasonal shift? Do I need to see if I can pull up a purchase order, really understand where I am and where I need to go? And so this is where you're getting that one version, real time, no reconciliation spreadsheet. Moving into assortment planning, this is that bridge between the financial plan and the buy. And I wanted to start off with what your Monday morning could look like. This is that visual gallery view of your assortment. You can have both the visual and analytics all in one place, really being able to highlight, what do I need to focus on and where do I go from here? Moving into a line plan, this is an example of an in-season item. Wanted to move into that core ongoing business. So let's look at one core item, something that a planner would naturally gut check. If I arrow it down, you can see kind of a mini open to buy that is available Currently, I just have it in units, but all of those metrics will follow you through the whole solution. So if you want to dollarize that, easy to do. And this is where that tournament forecasting comes in. And so I'm just going to visualize this where you can see my original forecast, my actuals coming in, and then my plan system adjusted. And what this is we run multiple models, machine learning and statistical models, and run it backward and take a look to see which one would have been the most accurate. And based on which one we have the highest confidence in, we then take that forecast down to the cluster level and apply that going forward. And we are doing that every single week with every single item rather than taking one model and applying it across the board. So it is really specific to that item, that cluster, and ensuring that we're continually learning and adjusting from there. However, you and the team drive your business. So there is the ability to go ahead and make an input in this plan adjusted line to be able to say, I want to understand, we're talking about doing a specific promotion that I haven't put into this system yet. What does that look like from here? And you can see what that looks like and how that would impact your receipts and margin and all of those things that come into play when you're making those decisions. So that is how you kind of handle those in season. That in season, there's also the ability to review your receipt plans. You can take a look at what your receipts are needed by size for the future. All of this, the receipts are being driven off of your sales, also incorporating your lead time, safety stock, and then how often you're ordering. And so all of that is truly being considered with those receipts. Moving into in season. So this is our assortment summary screen where you can see the various assortments that you and the team are working on. What I'm going to do is arrow down and go into this hindsight and analysis view. And what you can see here is hindsight is really where you're starting to move into that building that next season. So before your planner's building anything, you want to look back and really be able to identify that long tail to see what sold, what didn't, what was carried, what shouldn't have been, and really give you that analytical foundation for every carry forward decision that follows. Rationalization then takes that current style and then connects back to your financial goals that you set in MFP and really be able to balance that financial target and then productivity thresholds. You can see this is done I have this by division and cluster, but you're able to create those views in however those different scenarios at those different partitions that we had kind of discussed earlier. From here, I can then seed this assortment to seed into my new assortment, and then those placeholders are then available here. Awesome. So now I have that kind of slot level line plan as a starting point. Just to finish out this workflow, from there, I would go to Style Bank, which is where we can connect to your PLM. And you can actually just take this and drag it over and being able to assign an actual choice for this line item. That is one way that you're able to build an assortment. The other option is going into compare mode, which is where you are really taking those historicals and being able to look at your past years, your past plans. And from here, you're able to really be able to create those placeholders. You can repeat if you have a seasonal item that you bring back every single year, or you can extend it. Within assortment planning, you would then be able to go to your recommended purchase orders, which is where we would then connect to your tech stack, allowing for that seamless connection where all of those receipts that you had really put that work behind are then able to connect to your purchase orders and then be sent off. This would have saved me so much time in my past. And so within assortment planning, this is where you're able to triage the business. You can adjust receipts with one lever. You can, for pre-season, you can rationalize. You can build from a style bank and make side-by-side decisions in compare mode, and then turn those assortments straight into purchase orders all within that platform. Within assortment planning, you can then seed your allocation strategies, which then will take you to allocation. And so a couple things within allocation, really wanting to highlight here that this is where we are matching that available inventory to your location level demand. And so here is a quick view of what your first report could look like on a Monday morning, looking by location at a total level. You can see your sales, your in-transit units to place. This is where the system has already calculated what those recommended transfer orders would be. And you can see it's looking all the way out to week 28 right now. You can actually extend this through the whole year. I just have it to week 28, but would have been really helpful for me in my past in terms of being able to plan for labor, being able to understand from a receiving standpoint, what does that workload look like? So you can start here from a total level. You can then dive into by style. What does that total look like? What does this look like from locations? How many units are we recommending? Where do I need to prioritize first? And so moving into the allocation strategies, this is really the command center of where the team is able to make those allocations and review them. Going into one item, you can see here, there's 1,000 units that I have planned. And this is taking that recommendation of where those products need to be sent initially, but then where do they need to be sent from the total life cycle of the product as well. So that way you can see where we are prioritizing from stores, from a minimum capacity or minimum presentation perspective, and really incorporating that for that whole life cycle. And critically, that initial allocations and replenishment are in that same engine. So you're not having to switch tools. But overall, this is where you're able to review your sales curves. You can adjust your order cycle, your safety stock, put in any presentation profiles, understanding that that is so critical. You also have the ability to have a holdback percentage if needed. We find that most of our customers will start with a holdback percentage, but then they remove it because it is that forward-looking demand, so you're not needing to manage it. And so, the system's doing the math, but the allocator's making the call. Every shipment has a plan and nothing is falling through those cracks. And the last thing that I'd love for you guys to hold on to today is that the plan is one thing. So from your financial targets to your style decisions to the units that are then sitting on the shelf, it's one version moving in real time across every level of your organization. Those numbers are traceable. So your smart seeding from your own data, you can trace it back. You can trace back your assortment plan and your allocation to 4 visible inputs. So you're never having to make those recommendations on faith. And that's what builds the kind of trust that actually changes how the planning team works. Then ultimately, the planner stays in control. So the system starts the year, but the planner finishes it. She can always override what she knows, adjust it to what the market is telling her, and she is able to make the calls that no algorithm can make. So Toolio is really built to amplify that judgment, not replace it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. I know we're exactly on time here, but thank you so much, and please happy to stay on to answer any questions as well. I'm seeing one come in. How often does data refresh? So your data refreshes based on a configured sync schedule. So typically run overnight, but all of that can be configured and can be adjusted by time zone. Thank you so much. Can multiple planners work in the same plan at once? Yeah, yes. So multiple planners can work in plans simultaneously, whether that is different scenarios or across different subsets of data. Permissions can be configured to set approval rights. So a scenario can be approved to go to the master, like we talked about. Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I know we're a minute over, but again, appreciate the time and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.